Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Brand new show this week. All kind of stuff going on. I was actually out of town last week at a conference to speak at, but back in the studio this weekend. Lots of great stuff going on and very, very interesting market. Obviously, coming to that spring to summer kind of transfer. The summer market's here. Lots of people coming in town, and we'll talk about what's going on. Big thing we'll dig into is just the micro market numbers. Last week's show, we talked about the macro market, which is like the entire Grand Strand. This week, we'll dig in, hey, what's happening each zip code, what's happening each neighborhood. That's what I get the most questions about, and it's really dynamic. It's very different based on what part of the beach or the Grand Strand you're on, and so you always want to kind of know that so you can pick strategy based on what you have there. So brand new numbers will go in. We'll dig in each area, each zip code, kind of look at kind of what's going on. Also, a new housing forecast came out nationally for the second half of 2025. We'll talk about what everyone's thinking and predicting in terms of interest rates, also what they're thinking in terms of home sales. Some are saying it'll go down. Some will say prices go down. Some will say prices go up. And so it's kind of all over the place to look at, based on who's doing what. It comes down to really a couple main things. It just comes down to interest rates, kind of what happens with those. And some are predicting that we'll see mid sixes. Some say low sixes. Some say it may not get there. But I tell you, if it gets to mid sixes, you'll see it kind of blow back up for sure. Also, our team bought another investment property this past week. We bought with an instant cash offer, somebody who wanted that. So that's something we'll talk about as well. We have an investment fund with millions of dollars that will buy your property instantly, hassle-free, pay much more money than most of those investors out there that you hear on the radio or just around town. Like, we actually are licensed and pay fair prices and come in and actually close, where a lot of them don't even close. They just try to lock your property up. They do what they call a wholesale, and then they try to sell that contract to someone else. And if they don't find anybody else that pays more, they just leave you hanging at the closing table. And so that's not something you want. We'll talk about kind of how that works and what we do. Our team's in growth mode. Our team is hiring for our sales team. We have the No One Real Estate team, Myrtle Beach, by like double. We've been growing like crazy, and looking for sharp, hungry people who wants to grow. We have a full scholarship we can offer for someone who wants to get into a real estate. If you're an agent out there in other places, just not getting the leadership or guidance or one-on-one training, or even leads that you think you should deserve or really help, reach out to us. We have super high standards. We're not for everybody. We are very intense in how we operate with our clients, with our standards. And so that's what we're looking to add a few more warriors to our sales team. But lots of great stuff we'll talk about. We'll dig into some amazing success stories, and we'll just talk about the same thing we do every week, is really just give you information, help you make better decisions for most people, which is our largest asset, which is real estate. So lots of great stuff we'll talk about today.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work, and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly, and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely, Rick. And I think what, 15th or 16th year on the station, I'm not sure, but a long time been on the station. And really just the whole cause behind the show has really evolved in the last 3 or 4 years, just to have one main purpose. And the purpose is just educate people on like the biggest mistakes everyone makes, because I've just seen this pattern over and over and over and over and over again, and selling 7,000 plus houses, over $1.5 billion in real estate sold. You just see the same things over and over. And the mistake that people make is they make the mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same, and it could not be any further from the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, the whole reality, it comes down to the person that you choose is the one that has to execute. And so what most people don't realize, you're selling a property, it's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, property does not get sold, or you leave money on the table, which is your hard-earned equity, based on how they execute. And that could be anything from pricing strategy. They price it right. What type of marketing strategy they have, what kind of photos they have, what's the order of the photos, how long does it take them to respond to a web inquiry online, do they answer the phone when somebody tries to buy it, right? How they negotiate. And so the crazy part is just all comes down to the human that executes. But what's crazier is our industry is filled up with just a massive amount of part-timers. And so the average agent in our marketplace sells less than 4 homes per year. So same thing we talk about all the time. It's very similar to any service-based business where it comes down to the actual people. So doctor, lawyer, right? If you're charged with a crime you didn't commit, or someone's suing you for all the assets that you own, the last thing you want is some part-time attorney who's tried a few cases, or the cheapest attorney, right? I want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law to give me the competitive advantage in the courtroom that I need to get the outcome that I desire, right? Same thing with a doctor. If you have an illness or something that's out there for you that is life-threatening, I don't want just the regular doc in the box. I want a specialist who specializes in that type of medicine, who understands the nuances and details and can help me navigate to make sure I get the outcome I want. And it really comes down to commitment to excellence, how much they're obsessed with what they do. I find the best doctors, really obsessed with what they do and how they do it. And I've been blessed, for example, been through a bunch of different doctors, and have a doctor that, now I just had a meeting yesterday with him, and goes to my blood work. And it's just crazy to have someone who cares and really helped me get my blood. I had super high cholesterol. It was a genetic issue. He didn't want to put me on statins because obviously has some long-term challenges there that can really backfire. And so we worked with myself and a trainer in my diet, and boom, all of a sudden now all the markers are green, all the markers are good. And it just goes to show, like, having someone who's obsessive about the details and obsessive about the outcomes can really change or make or break, the entire, in this situation, life, right? Versus getting a medication that would be stuck on that has massive side effects that you don't really have a big part of. So it comes down to, like, how do you find the best people execute the highest level? And so most people realize most agents out there are just doing the 3 Ps. They promise you the world to get the listing. Number 2, they put it to the MLS, the multiple listing service. And 3, they just sit back and pray that someone else brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're down the street trying to get the next listing, because that's how they survive. If they get 10 listings, only 5 of them sell. And so most of them are only getting 4 listings and maybe 2 sell the entire year. And they may get 2 buyers off those listings. And there you go. That's kind of how the average agent operates. And so the worst thing you want to ever do is just gamble with your largest asset with a part-time agent, right? Most agents are not full-time, and even the full-time agents don't work full-time. And so you have to understand the most important decision, and this single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. If you take anything from this show, this is it. The success or failure of your home sale comes down to one thing only, and that thing is the agent that you choose, period. Not the wall color, not the grass quality, not the time of year you list it. It has to do with how well do they execute from A to Z in that process and get the job done for you. And there's so many nuances, like I mentioned, that people don't even know about that can make or break that home sale. You want to make sure you have a true expert who has the experience and the know-how and how to navigate those and how to guide you from a position of expertise to help get that, success that you need. And so what I found when I got in the business, there were just massive gaps and lots of holes in our industry. The most agents, 95% plus, operate in an old school, we call it cassette tape business model. They're still operating like the early 90s and late 80s. And as technology has changed, as the industry has changed, many of them are not adapting. Business models are not adapting, and you still now have one single agent trying to juggle 100 plus balls for 15 different clients. It's just simply not possible. It's like having the same person at McDonald's with the front register, the drive-thru, and French fries at the same time. And so I'm going to keep saying that every week until I have people that I don't have the issues at the office where people call in after they list with their friend and their friend totally destroyed the process. They did not get the job done for them. And there's no more home sales out there leaving money on the table. And so what I did, I got the business like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be something out there that works and that's new school and that is really with the times. And so I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for 20% more money than the traditional methods. And it works very, very well. I designed it. It's exclusive to us. And we basically use that to help position our properties in a way where our clients can get the competitive advantage they deserve. So if you want to know more how it works, reach out, call me, 843-808 sold. For buyers out there, guess what? 100 plus variables when you buy a property that make or break the home purchase. And if the agent handles them correctly, saves you money, get the property you want. If they don't, it costs you money or you miss out. And so I designed this thing there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gets priority access to foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best purchase price and negotiation, as well as negotiation of the home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully. And one thing we're most proud of is we help make sure you're protected the entire time you own the home. We want to help you if you get, plumber, electrician, vendors, any of that stuff you want to know who to use. Even now, if you're listening to our show and you want to know, hey, who do we use for XYZ? Reach out to our office. We're more than happy to help you. We always are vetting and going through and sifting and finding the best vendors based on what people need and who is really performing at the time. In terms of vendors, we do go through some that we overload them. They get too busy. We got to find somebody else. And so we're very, very good at that. But that's the key thing there. The most important decision that anyone makes is the agent you choose, even pricing. We always do price from a listing standpoint, from a consultative standpoint, meaning that we consult and basically advise you based on what the data shows. You choose a price, but ultimately the data chooses the price, the market chooses the price. not a realtor. So if you want to know more, reach out, call me. You can also watch a detailed documentary about it on our website. Just go to blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break, right back in a second. Sean Hannity here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, thanks for joining me today. A lot of real estate companies are making instant offers these days. What makes yours different from what they're offering?
Hey, Sean, that's such a great question. The massive difference is we actually buy your house. Most of those advertisements you hear, even on the same station, are wholesalers. They're just there to lock your property up at a discount price and try to assign it to someone else, make money off your hard-earned equity. Then they leave you hanging at the closing table if they can't find someone else. They never had any intention of closing. Most don't even have the money to close if they wanted to. We're local. We have millions of dollars, and we actually close the deal.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Find out how much demand your home can command right now. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com. And consider your home sold.
Hi, I'm Barbara Morgan. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers at time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time,
Use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Lots of crazy stuff going on. We'll talk about two types of numbers, and it's been very interesting. I'll tell you, it's been up and down the past really 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. We have 18, I think, weeks in a row we are below 7% for mortgage rates, mortgage interest rates. They bumped above 7 last week a little bit and back down again. And we'll talk about where they're at today and kind of what's going on with that. So we've seen it all over the place. We talk about this is why it's so important to track two types of numbers. We have the rearview mirror numbers. That's what closed last month. If it closed last month, then it went under contract 30 to 60 days prior to that. And so it's not really real-time data, right? But we also have the front windshield numbers of like, hey, what's happening in front of us? And those are properties that went under contract the last 7 days. And we track two main numbers there. What's the number of properties under contract? And what's total volume? I know anytime we're at 200 million or more, market's rock and roll and market's doing pretty good. That typically happens this spring to summer market overall. And so, for example, last week's show, it was rolling. We had 553 properties under contract for 204 million. Right now, 511 properties for 201 million, 200,000. So we're still above 200. It's down a little bit. That has to do with a little bit of pressure from rates, where rates were a little bit higher the last few weeks overall. And so you're seeing a little bit of a slowdown, but not too much because it's still over 200 million, which is amazing. And there's lots of big money too, which is crazy. So like right now, in the last 7 days, one property under contract at 4.75 million. And you're seeing this every week. You used to have maybe 1 or 2 a year. That's on Ocean Boulevard, North Myrtle Beach, 4.475 under contract. Another one right in Myrtle Beach in Carolina Forest at 3.5. Sorry, in Grand Dunes at 3.5 million. Another one in Grand Dunes on Marina Parkway, 2.9 million under contract. Another one, Inlet Point, 1.8 million under contract. And overall, looking at it, we look at the numbers. You have 11 properties over $1 million under contract last 7 days, 93 properties over 500,000. So a lot of money coming in still, which is obviously why you see the volume over 200 million. And inventory has continued to climb. If you look at the last 3 shows, so this morning, right now, there's 1,692 single-family active homes on the market in Myrtle Beach. It's the Grand Strand area. So the entire, basically that's Horry County. So anywhere in Horry County, there's 1,692 properties on the market. They're single-family resale homes. Last week's show, 1,682, which is 10 different. Before that, 1,648 overall. And so you're seeing it kind of go up. And if you go back just a couple months ago, it was only 1,473. And so you're seeing inventory slowly climb up. One of those national numbers we talked about earlier, when we were talking about the forecast of the second half of the year, they mentioned there the inventory across the country is up 30% year over year, which is needed in a way, right? You need some of that gridlock to stop, which is super important to kind of look at. But bottom line is lots of big stuff moving. I'll really jump into that micro market. Out here, I'll hit the macro market really quick for anybody that missed last week's show. So, hey, what's really going on in the macro market? That's everything in the Grand Strand, which is like really kind of Calabash area, south of Georgetown, inland to like Maryland, to Marion and Dillon and Mullins, things like that. But most of that's right in the Myrtle Beach area. If you look at single-family home sales, that's resale homes, there is down 4.3% last month. And so that compares to the same month last year. If you April 2025 versus April 2024, sales down about 4%. The great news last month, prices were up across the board for single-family homes, which is awesome. Prices up for median price up 3.3% at $390,000. Average sale price up 9.4%. We're back above $500,000, and that's great news because we saw really almost a 4-month decline in prices. Where back in December it was at 510, then it went down to 501, then to 490, and all the way down to 465 in March, and then it jumped from 465 all the way to 500 between March in April. And again, if you remember, that's when rates got back down about 45 days prior. They got to the mid sixes, 6.63, I think where it was, and everybody started jumping in. So then what happened? Prices started raising a little bit. Lots of inventory got taken up. And so that's what you're seeing, that lagging indicator of when rates got lower before. Inventory is still up slightly from where it was the previous month. Right now, it's 5.1 months of inventory. We're slowly creeping up to get to a buyer's market for real estate here for single-family homes in the Grand Strand. Anytime you're at 6 months of inventory or more, it becomes a buyer's market. Right now, we're at 5.1. So the seller's market is holding on barely, but inventory here is up 30% year versus year, which is the same number we just talked about for national numbers as well. And so if you're thinking about selling, you probably want to do it sooner rather than later, hopefully. Because that's where you're just seeing inventory slowly climb, which means it will soften price a little bit long term. The overall days on market last month was down a little bit, which is awesome. 101 days on market, which is down from 2 months ago, and is 116. So things are selling a little bit quicker, and that's about the 50% of properties that do sell. So the 50% of properties that do sell, they're selling 101 days. So think about that. There's 100 properties listed. Only about 50 of those actually close or sell. Of the 50 that close, it took an average of 101 days to get those closed. Showings per listing, still the same problem you've seen overall. The average amount of showings that any resale home listing gets on the MLS is 4 showings the entire time it's listed. The problem is the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract is 13.2. And so that's up from last year. So it means there's more choices for buyers looking at more properties, and it needs more showings per listing to get a contract. And so that links up to what I mentioned earlier of like, hey, why is it so important, the agent they choose? Why can't I just use my friend who just got their license? Why can't I use my friend's friend who was recommended to me? Whatever it is, right? You want to understand the difference here of just the mathematics. And so the amount of showings, the data shows that you need to get a contract on your house for a single family home is 13.2. And so you need 13.2 people, couples, whatever you look, to come to your house statistically to get a contract. And that's assuming it's in good condition and, it's marketable, things like that. But the average listing only gets 4 total. And so that's why you need marketing dollars behind it. You need sales team behind it. You need somebody who can push that and move that needle to help get you more people in there to get the chances that it gets under contract increase substantially by being able to move that from behind the numbers with things like marketing and sales and phone calls and salespeople. And that's what we do very, very well in terms of our team. The condo market has been getting really kind of crushed the last few months. We all talked about that. That comes from really a bunch of reasons, but most of that being HOA assessments, HOA increases, insurance increases across the board. And so you're seeing that cost drive up dramatically. Lots of people list their condos, which is obviously driving price down a little bit for the long term we've seen. But sales last month down 8.3%. Prices actually came up last month, which is helpful, but year versus year down 0.4% for average sale price, $283,000. The median price is down 3.5% at $249,000. But if you look at month versus month, a huge jump, again, off the heels of the interest rates going down. So in March, the overall median price was $218,000. It jumped from $218,000 to $249,000. So significant jump there that you see a $30,000 jump in values in one single month for condos. And that was after having 5 straight months of decline. So great news there for condos. And again, it just shows how much help there is from interest rates. Looking at inventory, it is a buyer's market by far. Right now, 8.7 months of inventory. It's up 40% from the same time last year, which is crazy. And so the last time we were at 8 months of inventory is all the way back in 2016 of really June 2016. So long time there. Since we've been there, obviously a lot's happened since June 2016. You're looking at almost 9 years since we've had this much inventory on the market for condos. And so that's something that's very difficult if you're a condo seller. You want to make sure you have the right agent, somebody who can differentiate that for you. Overall, same thing, showings per listing down 22%. The average condo, an entire 6-month listing, gets 2 showings, 2.1. The amount of showings it takes to get a contract, 8.7. So you need 4 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get under contract. That's why your property's sitting there. That's why it didn't sell. You have to make sure you have marketing there, and you make sure you have to have the right sales team behind it. And here's the other thing, like it's just kind of a side nuance, a side note, like you can't outmarket overpriced property, right? So it needs to be priced within the window. Like we're good. We talk about this all the time, but we're not magicians where we can do it within a certain window. We can push it up a little bit and get the highest in the market. But at the same time, you can't outsell something when there's 6 other condos that are priced $30,000 below that, right? So you just got to be smart about how your strategy works. And that's what we do, is find the fine line with our clients where we can really get the most amount of money possible based on the micro market, what's happening, and really a pulse of what new properties going to contract. Really quick look at the micro market. This is each zip code. I hit a couple key pieces there. If you want to know more, you can always reach out to me. You also have your own personalized dashboard, just like your stock market, right? If you go and check your stocks, I talk about this all the time. Most people check their stock account like weekly at least. So, hey, what's happening to my stocks? You got on your phone. But no one really does that with their house. They wait for years and years and go online. They're not really sure what to do. We have this amazing software. I spend total almost $4,000 a month for and it does a lot of cool stuff and emails our past clients and all this. But you can have your own dashboard for any property you have anywhere in the country. It tells you real-time home equity based on 3 different main data sources. I don't have any control of that data. It's national data that basically all the big giant corporations use. It gives you an average of what the prices are, what's sold around there. It tells you what the most recent sales around you are, most recent active properties are. Like I said, real-time home equity, and it keeps you updated every single month. And you can get that free of charge, no hassle, blakesloan.com. Just enter your address there. It's super cool. So, but you want to think about it like a stock account, right? Check your property there. That's your real-time equity. You want to know what it is so you can keep in mind for your strategy and what you're trying to do, unless you want to pull some equity out, potentially sell in the future. But that's something you want to be able to use, and that tool is free for all of our listeners to use, for you and all our past clients to use as well. So just go check it out. That's there for you as well. Look at Carolina Forest, right, which is obviously a pretty big area there, 295.79 overall. Closed sales last month down 12.5%. Year-to-date sales down 9.5%. The good news is last month prices were up, so that's one of the few areas prices are up. Price up 5.4% from 410 to 432. Year-to-date prices up 3.4% from 423 to 434, which is awesome. Looking at Myrtle Beach area, that's like the main 295.72, 295.77, where kind of it leads the charge to everything else in the Grand Strand. So sales last month down 14%. Year-to-date sales down 7.6%. But the great news, prices are crushing it in Myrtle Beach, up 15% last month from 468 last year to 539 now. If you look at year-to-date, prices up 18% in Myrtle Beach year-to-date, which is awesome news, from 465 to 549. One thing, though, inventory is up 20%. So inventory last year at this time was 224 houses for sale. Right now, 267. So a 20% increase there overall. And the average amount of days it takes to sell a home in the Myrtle Beach area, 295.77, 295.72, is 117 days overall. Condo sales down 11% last month. Prices up 1.7%, which is awesome news. Into the North Myrtle Beach area, 29582 zip code. Sales for homes last month up 2.9%. Year-to-date sales down 3%. Prices last month down 8% from 549 to 506. Year-to-date prices at North Myrtle Beach down 6.6% from 580 to 542. And so the average days on market there is 106 days. And here's the crazy part. Here's why you're seeing that softening. Inventory for sale in North Myrtle Beach for homes is up 69%. So last year in April, there's 204 properties for sale. This year, 345. And so that's why you want an expert who can really dig into your specific neighborhood, to your specific area, and help pick strategy based on what you're seeing there overall. Homes in Little River area, 29566. Sales down. This is crazy. This kind of shocked me a little bit. In April, we're down 46%. And so last year in April, there were 92 sales. This year, only 49. Year-to-date sales down 41%, which is crazy. And so prices also down 7.8% from 385, 355. Year-to-date sales price is down 7.2% from 384 to 357. And the average days on market it takes to sell a property in Little River right now is 106 days. The crazy thing, I think some of this might have to do with new construction. There's just less new construction there, where last year that was booming. Inventory is actually down in Little River. There's 17.9% less houses for sale than there was the same time last year. Last year was 291, right now 239. Loris and Longs area overall, sales up 4.3% last month, which is awesome. Year to date, Loris and Longs, sales up 19.9%. And again, why is that? Well, they're building a lot of stuff off Highway 9. You're seeing it move towards Longs and Loris. We've been selling a lot of stuff out there, and that's exactly what you're seeing there. Median price up 2.3% from $299 to $306, which is awesome. In April, which is last month. Year to date, prices down slightly 1.1% from $297 to $294. So not a big deal there. The average days on market, though, to sell a property in Loris and Longs is 129 days. And so inventory is pretty much flat where it was. Looking at Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet area, 29576 zip code. Sales last month down 4.9%. The good news is year to date, though, sales up 4.8%. Prices through the roof in Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet last month up 15.2% alone, from 421 to 485. Year to date prices from 430 to 475. And the average days on market right now is 133 days. So it's taking a little while, but prices are up. And as you notice, there's huge swings from these areas between North Myrtle Beach, which is down, Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, which is up. And that's why you want a true expert who understands the micro market data, can help get you through that too. Garden City, Myrtle's Inlet, sales down 4.9% last month. Year to date up 4.8%. Prices, price up 15%. Pauley's in Litchfield, sales down 18%. Prices up 13%, which is awesome. So you're seeing that same thing there. A lot of high-end stuff. The average days on market in Pauley's in Litchfield is 104 days overall. And last one here, we got Georgetown. Sales are flat last month, which is awesome. Prices down 14.8%, which is interesting. And the average days on market is 145 days. So think that in mind. If you want to know more about details, reach out, call me. What we got? 1 minute left. Really quick success story. Our team's absolutely crushing it. John and Marissa had a single-family home in Myrtle Beach. They're looking to sell to move back up north, closer to family. Listed for 6 months with a, quote, friend who only brought them frustration, a few showings. Thankfully, they saw our billboard and our TV commercial with Barbara Corcoran. Reach out to us, identify the problem, which is marketing. I came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtual walkthrough, drove massive traffic, 7 showings in the first 4 days, 2 offers. They accepted a full price cash offer. We're blown away. So that's one thing, got 1 minute, which is awesome. And also, Andrew and Denise inherited a house. We get a lot of those lately. Estate sales, we're very good at those. They reach out to a few investors on there paying pennies on the dollar. Thankfully, they were recommended to us by a friend to call us. We came in, showed them our quick sale where they can get top dollar but not have to fix anything up. I designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, and our quick sale program had 6 showings under contract within 1 week. So if you want to be a great success story, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD or BlakeSloan.com. We'll see you back here next week, same time.